Hi everyone! Welcome back to another episode of Project Accounting. So for today's episode, we're gonna apply what we have learned about the accounting equation and the elements of financial statements by solving the problems on last episode. So let's go to problem solving 5-1. So let's answer the following questions by applying the accounting equation. The assets of a company amounts to 1 million and the owner's capital is 250,000. So what is the amount of liabilities? So ang ating accounting equation ay A is equal to L plus E. So may asset daw na 1 million at may equity na 250,000. Tapos nawawala ang liabilities. So sa equation na ito, magkano ang kulang sa right side para maging 1 million yung sum? So ang total amount of liabilities is 750,000, which is 1 million minus 250,000 para makuha natin yung amount ni liabilities. Number 2, the liabilities and owner's equity of B company amounts to 6 million and 3 million respectively. How much is the company's assets? So sa ating accounting equation, A is equal to L plus E. So may liabilities daw tayo na 6 million and may owner's equity na 3 million. So 6 million plus 3 million is equal to 9 million. That is the company's total assets. Number 3, C company has owner's equity of 8,950,000 and total assets of 11,690,000. How much is the creditor's equity? So pag sinabing creditor's equity, tumutukoy din siya sa liabilities. So sa ating accounting equation, A is equal to L plus E, meron daw tayong assets na 11,690,000 and meron tayong owner's equity na 8,950,000 and ang nawawala ay liabilities. So 11,690,000 minus 8,950,000, ang total amount ng ating liabilities ay 2,740,000. Number 4, the liabilities of the company is equal to 1/3 of the total assets. The owner's equity is 2.4 million. What is the amount of liabilities? So, ang ating accounting equation is A is equal to L plus E. So, alam natin na ang given is yung 2.4 million sa owner's equity. Tapos, ang hinahanap ay yung total liabilities. Pero, hindi natin alam kung magkano ang total assets natin. Pero, based sa problem, ang liabilities daw ni D ay equal sa 1/3 ng total assets. So, ibig sabihin, para maging 3/3 ang assets natin, ang equity ay 2/3 ng total assets. Since alam na natin yung portion ng mga fraction ng bawat isa sa ating accounting equation, computein na natin yung total assets. So para makompute ang total assets, 2.4 million times 3 divided by 2, so ang total amount of asset is 3.6 million. Since alam na natin yung amount ni total assets and based sa problem, 1/3 daw ng total assets is yung amount ni liabilities. So para makuha ang total liabilities, 3.6 million times 1/3, which is equal to 1.2 million. So to check kung tama ba yung 1.2 million, dapat magbabalance pa rin ang ating equation. So 1.2 million plus 2.4 million, which is equal to 3.6 million. So na-prove natin na tama na ang total amount of liabilities is 1.2 million. Number 5. At the beginning of the year, E-company's assets amounts to 11 million and owner's equity amounts to 6 million. During the year, assets increased by 3 million while liabilities decreased by 400,000. How much is the owner's equity at the end of the year? So ating accounting equation, A is equal to L plus E. So meron daw tayong 11 million na total assets. Then meron daw tayong 6 million na owner's equity. Tapos, during the year, nadagdagan daw yung assets natin ng 3 million Tapos, nabawasan daw yung liabilities natin ng 400,000. Ang tinatanong is, how much is yung owner's equity at the end of the year? So, dun sa beginning of the year, makakompute natin kung magkano ang total liabilities since given ang asset at owner's equity. So, 11 million minus 6 million, ang ating total liabilities sa beginning of the year ay 5 million. Then, computein naman natin yung amount ng asset at the end of the year. So, 11 million plus 3 million since nadagdagan daw ang assets natin during the year, ang total amount of assets at the end of the year ay 14 million. Ganun din sa liabilities. So, 5 million minus 400,000 since nabuwasan daw ang liabilities during the year. So, ang ating total liabilities at the end of the year ay 4.6 million. So, meron na tayong asset at liabilities. Malalaman na natin ang equity at the end of the year. So, 14 million minus 4.6 million, ang total equity natin as at year-end ay 9.4 million. Be careful lang sa mga problem na ganito. Kasi minsan, ang binibigay, hindi yung amount ng increase. Minsan, sinasabi, assets increase to 14 million. So, ibig sabihin, naging 14 million daw yung assets, hindi nadagdagan ng 14 million. So magkaiba ang increased to sa increased by. Last problem, number 6. At the beginning of the year, F company has total assets of 4.51 million and total liabilities of 860,000. During the year, assets decreased by 300,000 while liabilities increased by 650,000. How much is the owner's equity as at December 31, 2020? So sa ating accounting equation, meron daw assets na 4.51 million and 860,000 na liabilities at the beginning of the year. Tapos, during the year, assets decreased by 300,000, while liabilities increased by 650,000. Magkano daw yung owner's equity at the end of the year? So, pwede na natin computen yung beginning of the year na owner's equity. So, 4.51 million minus 860,000, ang ating owner's equity at the beginning of the year ay 3.65 million. Tapos, ang assets daw ay nabawasan ng 300,000 during the year. So, 4.51 million minus 300,000, ang ating assets at the end of the year ay 4.21 million. Tapos, yung liabilities naman, nadagdagan daw ng 650,000 during the year. So, 860,000 plus 650,000. So, ang ating liabilities at the end of the year ay 1.51 million. So, meron na tayong assets and liabilities at the end of the year. So, 4.21 million minus 1.51 million, ang ating owner's equity at the end of the year ay 2.7 million. So tapos na ang problem solving 5-1. Pumunta naman tayo sa problem solving 5-2. The financial statement information about 4 different companies are as follows. So determine the missing amounts. So dun muna tayo kay company F. So sa letter A, ang hinahanap ang equity at the beginning of the year. So meron tayong asset na 150,000 and may liabilities tayo na 100,000. So 150,000 minus 100,000, ang ating equity at the beginning of the year ay 50,000. So sa letter B naman, ang asset naman yung hinahanap. Meron tayong 110,000 na liabilities and 90,000 na equity. So 110,000 plus 90,000, ang ating asset at the end of the year ay 200,000. So sa letter C naman, 'di ba based sa na-discuss natin last week, ang equity consists of owner's investment, drawings at net income or net loss during the period. So para masagutan natin to, simulan natin sa equity beginning which is yung 50,000. Tapos ang hinahanap yung additional investment. Tapos nag-withdraw daw ng 20,000. Then may total revenue na 700,000 at may total expense na 670,000. Then ang ating equity ending ay 90,000. So paano natin malalaman kung magkano yung total additional investment? So mag-work backwards tayo. Simulan natin sa equity ending tapos pabaliktad yung mga operations. So, equity ending na 90,000 plus 670,000 na total expense minus total revenue na 700,000 plus drawings na 20,000 and minus yung equity beginning na 50,000. So, ang ating total additional investment ay 30,000. So, i-check natin kung tama. So, 50,000 plus 30,000 minus 20,000 plus 700,000 minus 670,000. Dapat ang magiging sagot ay 90,000 which is yung equity ending. So, tama na ang additional investment natin during the year ay 30,000. So, pumunta naman tayo kay Company G. So, sa letter D naman, meron tayong 180,000 na assets, tapos hinahanap yung liabilities, then may equity tayo na 120,000. So, 180,000 minus 120,000 ang ating liabilities at the beginning of the year ay 60,000. So, at the end of the year naman, ang hinahanap is yung equity. So, meron tayong assets na 240,000 at liabilities na 124,000. So, 240,000 minus 124,000, ang ating equity at the end of the year ay 116,000. So, sa letter F naman. So, meron tayong equity beginning na 120,000. Meron tayong additional investment na 16,000. Then, ang hinahanap naman ngayon is yung drawings. Tapos, meron tayong total revenue na 800,000 at meron tayong total expense na 770,000. Then, at the end of the year, meron tayong equity ending na 116,000. So, mag-work backwards ulit tayo. So, 116,000 plus 770,000 minus 800,000 minus 16,000 minus 120,000, ang ating total drawings during the year ay 50,000. So, next naman is yung kay Company H. So, sa letter G, nawawala na naman yung assets at the beginning of the year. Pero meron tayo 150,000 na liabilities at 110,000 na equity. So, 150,000 plus 110,000, ang ating asset at the beginning of the year ay 260,000. So, sa letter H naman, meron tayong asset na 360,000, nawawala yung liabilities at the end of the year, and meron tayong 220,000 sa equity. So, 360,000 minus 220,000, ang ating liabilities at the end of the year ay 140,000. So, sa letter I naman, meron tayong equity beginning na 110,000, then additional investment na 20,000, then may drawings na 24,000, then ang hinahanap naman ngayon is yung total revenue. Then meron tayong total expense na 720,000 at ang ating equity ending ay 220,000. So para makuha natin yung total revenue, i-work backwards natin. So 220,000 plus 720,000 plus 24,000 minus 20,000 minus 110,000, ang ating total revenue during the year ay 834,000. So, pumunta naman tayo kay Company I. So, sa letter J, so meron tayong asset na 300,000 and nawawala yung liabilities at the beginning of the year and may equity tayo na 180,000. So, 300,000 minus 180,000, ang ating liabilities at the beginning of the year ay 120,000. So, sa letter K naman, yung asset naman at the end of the year yung nawawala. So, meron tayo 160,000 na liabilities and 280,000 na equity. So, 160,000 plus 280,000, ang ating assets at the end of the year ay 440,000. So, sa letter L naman, meron tayong equity beginning na 180,000. Then, may additional investment na 30,000. May drawings na 20,000. And may total revenue na 1 million. Then, ang nawawala naman ngayon is yung total expenses. And may equity ending tayo na 280,000. So, para makuha natin yung total expenses, mag-work backwards tayo. So, 280,000 minus 1 million plus 20,000 minus 30,000 minus 180,000. So ang ating total expense during the year ay 910,000. So to summarize what we have learned today, the accounting equation is assets is equal to liabilities plus equity. Assets are present economic resource controlled by the entity as a result of past events. Examples include cash, accounts receivable, notes receivable, prepaid expenses, supplies, land, building, etc. Liabilities are present obligation of the entity to transfer an economic resource as a result of past events. Examples include accounts payable, notes payable, mortgage payable, loan payable, unearned revenue, and accrued expenses. Equity is the residual interest in the assets of the entity after deducting all its liabilities. It includes owner's investment and owner's withdrawal. Income are increases in assets or decreases in liabilities that result in increase in equity other than those relating to contributions from holders of equity claims. Expenses are decreases in assets or increase in liabilities that result in decrease in equity other than those relating to distributions to holders of equity claims. So revenue minus expenses is equal to net income, or expenses minus revenue is equal to net loss. So if you like this video or if this video helped you, please give a thumbs up and subscribe for more episodes. Thank you.